you always hear people say now, well, we're going to fall. Rome fell. American society will fall.
Yes.
What comparisons do you see between the two, or is there any like footprints in the sand that you can follow to see a path, to see like a story arc of how societies fall? Are we parallel enough to Rome to even have the same trajectory as them? What do you think about some of that?
There is, I mean, like, it's like both simultaneously, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because on the one hand, all civilizations and all societies are unique unto themselves, and it's not the case that we just are reliving some thing over and over again, that there actually is like a cycle to these things that is objectively true, and we're just sort of bit players in a historical force that's beyond our control. But also, we are humans who have come together, and humans are often behave in very similar ways and respond to certain things in very similar ways. Yeah.
Tell me some signs. Tell me some signs the Roman Empire collapsing, military overextension, and weakened invasions. Economic collapse and inflation, barbarians, invasions, and loss of territory. So we're not at the end. So this is completely different. Population plan, we have that. Hold up. Do we checklist? Make a table and compare it. Compare these with the US. Sign number one, military overextension. World's largest defense budget. Overseas but recruiting crisis. Army missed goals by 25%. Increasing use of contractors and foreign recruits for citizenship. Medium-high overstretch recruitment issues still technologically dominant. So this is Rome. Dollar still global reserve currency, but national debt is 36 trillion, 130% GDP. M2 money supply by 40%. This is COVID. Low to medium debt is extreme, but dollar hegemony lays consequences. Repeated barbarian invasion and loss of territory. Southern borders are 10 million encounters since 2021. Many cities report strain on services, no territorial loss, but effective loss of control in some areas and no-go narratives in certain cities. Romanian scale is completely different. No armed tribes seizing provinces. I don't know, man. Have you seen Minnesota? Political instability, civil wars, Barack's two attempted assassination of major candidates in 2024. January 6th riot, deep partisan divide, 30% of Americans in 2024 say polls and civil war is likely in the next decade. Really? In the next decade? Medium polarization extreme, but institutions still holding. Decline of cities and major cities, visible decay, homelessness crisis, shuttered downtown stores, deteriorating substation systems, many aqueduct infrastructure projects delayed for decades, medium-high visible urban decline in some places. COVID-19 killed 1.2 million Americans, fertility rate 1.58, well below replacement, working age population growth now depends entirely on immigration, demographic stagnation, but not Cyprian plague level die-off. 49% loss of civic spirit, bread and circus dependency. 49% of young adults receive some form of government assistance. God damn. 49%. What? Where's mine? Where's my government assistance? What the fuck? Recorded disability rules, massive unforgiveness debts, entertainment, social media addiction widely acknowledged, entitlement culture is growing, permanent division of empire. Yeah, we definitely have that. Culture and legal secession talk, but no formal split. Corruption and incompetent leadership. Revolving door lobbying, insider trading by Congress members rarely punished. Gerontocracy, average age of Senate 64. Several members visited casino, declining public trust in institutions. Congress, but like, isn't this isn't this problem going to solve by itself? They're all going to die off, right? Like age, high. Perceived elite corruption very high. Symbolic deposition of Semper, no equivalent yet. The constitutional system military still ultimately answers to civilian elected authority. Very low. Some region, okay, but there's also government collapse and lost faith identity too, right? Like the Roman Empire, the Roman Republic became Roman Empire, but the people still stay Roman, and they just formed a new government. Or something like it. The United States showed uncomfortable parallels in roughly 6 to 7 of major Roman symptoms, especially corruption, urban infrastructure, demographic. Whoa, hold up. Wait a minute. You said corruption? What is the global average? Scores. So is low better or high better? I'm guessing high is better. So we're at 65. China's at 43. Russia's at 22. We're not doing bad. Compared to the rest of the world, we're not doing bad. I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean elite corruption? We're nowhere as bad. Like there's better places, like Japan and Canada, New Zealand and Australia, but we're nowhere near it. Demographic stagnation. I just want to see the map. Total fertility rate. Okay, we're below 2, which is bad. But China's at 1. Russia's at 1.4. So you're telling me all of these countries are going to collapse? I don't know, man. Like we're in decline, obviously, but we're nowhere as bad as the rest of the world, right? Political polarization, right? Now this world map by political instability, global conflict tracker. Criminal violence. Okay, but it's still better than the rest of the world, right? North Korea. Okay, so North Korea is just crisis. The fact that you're North Korea is just a crisis in itself. Right. Confrontation of Taiwan, territorial disputes in South China, civil war in Myanmar. Just North Korea, right? That's the crisis. India and Pakistan, instability in Pakistan, instability in Afghanistan, Iran's conflict with Israel and US. Right, so maybe this is what we're talking about. There's a conflict in Yemen. Al-Shabaab in Somalia, Ethiopia. God damn. I've never heard of it. Okay, this one, Venezuela. U.S. confrontation with something's going on in Venezuela. But it's not my problem, right? It lacks the favorable condemnation of actual territorial invasion, loss. You could argue that the immigrants are invasion. Military that routinely kills emperors. Complete currency. How close are we to currency collapse? Index. Show me. We're going 3 years, maybe. I don't know, man. 10%? Like a 10% drop? What about overall? Hello? Okay, so it definitely dropped since 2023. Full chart. Middle chart. Let me see all of it. Where's the decline? Where's the currency collapse? It went all the way down to 70s in 2008. We're nowhere near the 70s. What is this? 84? What happened here? Whoa. In 1984, what happened to the U.S., to the world? What happened that made U.S. dollar strengthen? Reaching one of the strongest points in this post-World War II history. Several major forces drove this, raking their physical policies, big budget deficits, extremely high U.S. interest rates, under the Federal Reserve Paul Volcker. The Fed kept very high interest rates to combat inflation in the late 1970s. U.S. rates were much higher than those of Europe or Japan. This attracted really higher rates attract more. This attracted mass foreign investment into the U.S. bonds and money markets. Strong U.S. economy relative to other major countries. U.S. economy was booming. Europe and Japan were growing more slowly. Global perception of U.S. stability. U.S. was seen as a stable investment hub during the war. Okay. So basically, we were winning the Cold War. What happened here? This is... What is this? 2001. This is the tech bubble, right? 2001, that's the tech bubble. And then it crashes all the way to 2008. This is when we invaded Iraq, right? We went to war in the Middle East. So we're in the recovery phase still. We're still recovering from 2001. I don't see a decline. Where's the decline? I'm seeing a recovery from 2001. This led to coordinated intervention, the Plaza Accord, where U.S., Japan, West Germany, France, and UK agreed to weaken. What? Why would you agree to weaken the dollar? Why agree to weaken the dollar? For manufacturing? To get jobs back? U.S. trade deficit exploded. Congress threatened protectionist tariffs against Japan. A weaker dollar was seen as a way to rebalance trade without resorting to tariffs. Well, we're already here. Today we're using tariffs. James Baker viewed depreciation as a safe way to cool the trade imbalance. Why Japan and Europe wanted a weak dollar? Currencies were too weak. Japan, West Germany, France, and UK all faced weak currencies, expensive imports, pressure on domestic producers to interfere with U.S. firms. A high dollar meant that exports were too cheap, angering the U.S. Their imports, like energy, were too expensive. Diplomatic pressure from the U.S. was intense. Okay, so this is what happens when you're strong. This is 04 to 08. Look at that. Just the Reagan era. Alright, what happened here? It bottomed at 2008. And then it just went skyrocketing ever since. You know what? Maybe Obama wasn't so bad. He was strengthening the dollar. and then Trump, and then Biden, and then Trump again. And this is all Bush. This is all Bush. In Roman terms, the U.S. looks more like the 3rd century crisis period. Severe but recoverable, think Aurelian or Diocletian, than the irreversible 5th century beat-out. Whether it tips into the latter depends heavily on the next 10 to 20 years. We'll see. Right, show me the map in the 3rd century. Actually did. Rome, face. Alright. What about Relative Tower? Uh-huh. Oh my god, dude. What? Like I asked, bro. Tell me about... Tell me about... Rome's relative power compared to the world by 3rd to late 5th century. Here's a clear structured view of Rome's relative power in the world. Rome, the world was relevant to Rome was the Mediterranean, Near East, Persia, fragmented kingdoms in Europe and North Africa. Han China has recently fallen, and China was in chaotic Three Kingdoms period. Despite this chaos, Rome was economically the largest state in Eurasia, militarily the strongest state in the Mediterranean, territorially one of the two biggest empires, but Rome faced the Rome faces worse than collapse yet. Crisis of the centuries, 20 to 25 emperors in 50 years, civil wars, economic collapse. This is happening in the UK right now. They're going for like prime ministers, civil wars, economic collapse, frontier pressure from Germanic tribes. Okay. Sort of political system was failing. The Sasanian Persian Empire emerged as a true peer competitor, far stronger than the older Parthians. Are they right next to each other? Rome by ear. Show me the map. Okay, they split off in the 3rd century. Capable of Sasanian Persia emerges as rival. Capable of defeating armies, captured Emperor Valerian to 60, roughly equal to Rome in East militarily. Relative standing, Rome still one of the few global superstates, no longer unmatched. Persia was near peer. 4th century 300 AD, stabilized and powerful, but now a twin empire. So that's really what happened, right? They got a rival. The Eastern Roman Empire, Byzantium, was extremely powerful and wealthy. China reunified in 280, then fragmented again, so not consistently strong. Rome and Persia were the two dominant regional powers with India. The Huns entered Europe, destabilizing Baltic tribes, pushing Roman territory. Battle of Adrianople. Rome loses an emperor, shows Rome cannot easily absorb migrating populations. Same, bro. Rome remained one of the top superpowers, but not invincible. Persia was a strategic equal in the east. Hermetic confederations became major external. So it's not that they collapsed internally. It's also that they lost relative power. Right? So it's not that they just decayed internally. They also lost relative power. Exactly. The world around Rome changed, Rome failed to keep up. Yeah, exactly. When did the world become more technologically advanced than Rome? Did that ever happen? Surprisingly, there isn't a single moment. Short answer: China overthrew Rome technologically by the 1st and 2nd century. Persia matched and surpassed Rome in key technologies by the 3rd and 4th century. By 6th, Islamic world became part. Really? The Islamic world became more advanced. Almost never the most advanced on Earth, but during its peak, it was the most advanced in Europe and Mediterranean. Really? Maybe that's what led to the fall. So there's a lot of reasons why it fell. One is technology. They failed to keep technologically. They lost relative power. Paper. They couldn't invent paper. They couldn't get a tree and cut it so thin that you could write on it. Cast iron. India. Strong mathematics. You couldn't invent math. Islamic age, 7th to 12th centuries, the most advanced world power. From 700 to 1200 AD, Islamic world has Rome. East and West in mathematics, optics, medicine, astronomy, navigation, chemistry, architecture, preservation of Greek science, which the West lost. If the world was mother, so lost everything.
I mean, Rome is a huge civilization that we see the entire course of it from its founding to its growth, to its peak, to its decline, to its fall. Was it even a fall? Was it merely a transformation? It's probably just a transformation.
I don't think we're anywhere near the fall,
too
man.
Dramatic. And of course, the Eastern Empire is going to keep going for another 1,000 years. And like, is America going to fall the way that Rome did? Well, number one, the United States of America is going to go away eventually. There's no timeline that you can extend out far enough that does not involve the United States eventually disappearing from the face of the earth. That's just what's going to happen.
Really? What makes you say that?
Well, we're not going to last for 10,000 years. We're not going to last for 1,000,000 years. The United States will eventually not be a thing anymore. I'm not saying it's going to happen 20 years from now or 100 years from now. 1,000,000 years from now, are we here? No.
Dang,
No, of course not. Of course we're not here.
What's going to happen?
So live it up.
Yeah,
live it up, because we're not going to be here in 1,000,000 years. So you may as well get your kicks in now.
Wait a minute. Who is the most? Is the US up to date with technology? Or are we losing? Are we failing to keep up in some areas? Yeah, so long as we're up to date with the latest technology. The short answer is yes. US remains up to date in many technology, even world leading in some. But in a number of important areas, other countries are catching up and overtaking America. And the US is now competing rather than being a leader. Alright, tell me. Competitive in AI, tech leadership, advanced computing, innovation, business sophistication, Cool. Public infrastructure transport. I disagree with this one. We don't need railroads. Like we don't need high speed rails. For example, average train speeds are much lower in Europe. Yeah, but like I'm not gonna ride one to work. I'm gonna take a car, right? I'm gonna take Waymo to work, maybe. Digital adoption of services, healthcare. Now this we need to work on. Healthcare, bro. Other countries, especially in Asia, are often ahead in using digital infrastructure services in healthcare. The U.S. is relatively slow to adopt wide-scale digital government, medical record systems. Growing competition in emerging technologies, countries China have made dramatic strides across many technologies. Robotics, battery, energy tech, quantum communications, biotechnology. Their state-backed large investments increase rival or exceed U.S. outputs in many areas. Fragility of long-term investment in basic research. Declining public funding threatens long-term U.S. dominance in deep research and keep systematic tech reliance. Up to date, but no longer. That's fine with me, man. As long as they're up to date and not falling behind like the Roman Empire, I think we're fine. But the advantage isn't guaranteed in the domains, infrastructure, public services, and some emerging technologies, and other countries are catching up or pulling ahead. Overall, the U.S. is now in a competitive global technology ecosystem rather than a sure front-runner. Sure. Do that. Give it a score. AI, global leader, ranking, US China. EU, man. Semiconductor chips, US, world leader design, world manufacturing. Best chip design firms, concentrated in South Korea. US depends on them. US building domestic fabs, but not caught up yet. Quantum computing, number one. Do we really need? What the fuck even is quantum computing? China competitive in communications, not a strong quantum processors. Robotics behind East Asia. US good at automation software and edge robotics, but Japan, South Korea, China dominate industrial robotics. China now is more robust than the rest of the world combined. Biotechnology, healthcare innovation, strongest. Energy technology, lagging behind East Asian areas. China dominates batteries. EV production, grid tech, US leads next-gen nuclear and geothermal. Space tech, clear global leader, public infrastructure. Like I said, we don't need public infrastructure. We have cars. Everyone has cars. It's like everyone's going to take cars instead of trains if they have one. Digital government, public IT, cybersecurity readiness, strong security, weakened digital public services. Education in STEM pipeline, strong universities, weak K-12 pipeline. We gotta do more to destroy the education system. University level? K-12, if K-12 is for playing around. Like, this is where you experiment. Right? This is where you make friends. Overall summary. Areas where the U.S. is number one. AI, computing, space, biotech, high-end chip design, universal research. Areas where U.S. is behind. Industrial robotics, we gotta work on this. Battery, solar, EV manufacturing. Public infrastructure. Maybe a little work. Digital government services. Yeah. Well. I don't know. I think it's fine. It's usable. K-12, K-12 STEM education. Areas where competition is strongest. China manufacturing, South Korea, Japan, industrial robotics, electronics, EU and regulation. No. Yeah, fuck that shit. EU is leading regulation? Are you fucking serious? I mean, they can lead in that, I don't care.
Yeah. Exactly. And so, but
like we talked about at the very beginning, our society is rooted in Roman history. And a lot of the things that stamped our political, our economic, our legal, and social culture, comes from Rome, comes from the Roman experience. And so it's not outside, I don't think it's out of bounds to say, there's probably going to be some similarities into how these things progress, how great empires rise and fall. We've seen this happen before. So where are we in the Roman timeline, right? Are we at the end? Are the barbarians at the gate? Is America about to fall? I certainly don't think so. That's not my opinion at all. I don't think we're anywhere close to the end of this. And I certainly don't think that poor people coming from Guatemala or El Salvador are literally the Goths, which is, how they're often portrayed in media. They're the Roman Empire fell because of immigration. Now the Roman Empire, number one, didn't really fall because of immigration. And number two, trying to make the Huns or the Goths analogous to, the kinds of people who are moving to the United States today is wildly, it's insanely.
By the way, who are the Huns? Who are the Huns? The Hun Empire. Okay, so Mongolians. Right? No. What is this? Is that no? It's part of Ukraine. Poland? Maybe a little bit of Poland? I don't know. Hold up. Huns today. The Hun Empire. No longer existing now, but this is Germany. Gaul, that's France, and Spain. Just give me a fucking map, bro. Where is that? Romania? Okay, Romania, part of Ukraine, Slovakia, Hungary, Bulgaria. So that's the Huns.
Inaccurate.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever would think that the problem is at the everyday man level.
Mm-hmm.
To me, the problem is
Crash Course. John Green? Alright, who do I listen to? John Green. Teach me.
Hi, I'm John Green. This is Crash Course World History, and today we're going to learn about the Roman Empire, which of course began when two totally non-fictional twins, Romulus and Remus, who'd been raised by wolves, founded a city on 7 hills. Mr. Green, what does SPQR stand for? It means shut pie hole quickly rapscallion. No, it means Senatus Populusque Romanus, one of the mottos of the Roman Republic. So today we're going to do some old school great man history and focus on Julius Caesar while trying to answer a question. When, if ever, is it okay to stab someone 23 times? Shakespeare answers that question by saying that Roman senators killed Caesar because he was going to destroy the Roman Republic. But even if that's true, we still have to answer whether A, the Roman Republic was worth preserving, and B, whether Caesar actually destroyed it. One of the things that made the Roman Republic endure, both in reality and in the imagination, was its balance. According to the Greek historian Polybius, the three kinds of government, monarchy, aristocracy, and democracy, were all found united in Rome. And it was no easy thing to determine with assurance whether the entire state was an aristocracy, a democracy, or a monarchy. At the heart of this blended system was the Senate, a body of legislators chosen from a group of elite families. Rome was divided into two broad classes: the patricians, a small group of aristocratic families, and the plebeians, basically everyone else. The Senate was sort of a mixture of legislature, giants, and the plebeians.
What was the... Yeah, the working class and the elites, right? The business capitalists and the working class.
Basically everyone else. The Senate was sort of a mixture of legislature and giant advisory council. Their main job was to set policy for the consuls. Each year, the Senate would choose from among its ranks 2 co-consuls to serve as sort of the chief executives of Rome. There needed to be 2 so that they could check each other's ambition, and also so that one could, take care of Rome domestically while the other was off fighting wars, conquering new territory. There were 2 additional checks on power. First, the 1-year term. I mean, how much trouble can you really do in a year, right? Unless you're the CEO of Netflix. I mean, he destroyed that company in like 2 weeks. And secondly, once a senator had served as consul, he was forbidden to serve as consul again for at least 10 years, although that went a little bit like how you say you're only going to eat 1 Chipotle burrito per week, and then there are a few exceptions, and then all of a sudden you're there every day. And yes, I know guacamole is more, just give it to me. But right, we were talking about...
You said Chipotle?
There every day, and 1 Chipotle burrito per week, and then there are a few exceptions.
He was eating Chipotle 13 years ago. Chipotle, bro? Hold up. 13 years ago. That's 2012. Okay, so Chipotle was still rising. It was relevant.
And then all of
It
a
was
sudden
pretty
you're
big.
there every day. And yes, I know guacamole is more, just give it to me. But right, we were talking about the Romans. So the Romans also had a position of dictator, a person who would take over in the event that the Republic was in imminent danger. The paradigm for this selfless Roman ruler was Cincinnatus, a general who came out of comfortable retirement at his plantation, took command of an army, defeated whatever enemy Rome was battling, and then laid down his command and returned to his farm safe in the knowledge that one day the second largest city in Ohio would be named for him. If that model sounds familiar to Americans, by the way, it's because George Washington was heavily influenced by Cincinnatus when he invented the idea of the 2-term president. So,
Really? Did George Washington learn anything from Cincinnatus? Yes. He was very consciously compared to Cincinnatus, and he embraced the example to some degree. Cincinnatus was a major classical model for American founding. Really? He was famous for being granted dictatorial powers in crisis, solving crises quickly, voluntarily giving up power in return to his farm. This made him the ideal republican citizen, powerful but not power-hungry. Educated colonists, including Western schools, constantly invoked Roman republicanism, and Cincinnatus was the go-to model for virtue. After the Revolutionary War, when Washington resigned from his commission in 1783 and returned to Mount Vernon, poets, politicians, and newspapers specifically called him the American Cincinnatus, our Cincinnatus at the plow. This wasn't accidental. Americans used Cincinnatus to brainwash these characters as the opposite of a tyrant monarch. Washington didn't reject the comparison. He seemed comfortable with it, and it shaped how people interpreted his actions. Washington consciously modeled certain behaviors. Really? So if I want to learn about Washington, I should learn about Cincinnatus. The importance of relinquishing power voluntarily, the moral value of returning to private life after service, the idea that virtue requires self-restraint, not ambitions. The clearest examples Resignation as Commander-in-Chief, returns to farm, refusal of a third term, reestablishes peaceful transfer of power. Both were widely understood as echoing Cincinnatus. Society of Cincinnati Evolutions, former officers formed a hereditary society called the Society of Cincinnati. Did Washington really study Cincinnatus? He didn't leave a diary saying, I learned Cincinnatus. Classical history was part of the intellectual world, educated idiots and Americans. His peers constantly framed his actions in those terms. Washington acted in ways that intentionally reinforced a resemblance. So Washington didn't just learn from Cincinnatus, he became the American embodiment of it. Really, bro. Cincinnatus. Three 430 BC. So like at the beginning of the Republic. Republic. It started at 509 BC, and he was there before that. When did Cincinnatus When was Rome founded? And when did Cincinnatus govern it? Govern Rome. He's not a king. His lifetime had two dictatorships. So like maybe a few hundred years. It's like at the beginning of it. At the beginning of Rome.
Caesar. Gaius? No, it's Gaius. I know from Battlestar Galactica. Gaius Julius Caesar was born around 100.
Dude, how the fuck did Washington learn about that? How did Washington, the founding fathers, even know about Rome? They studied it? And they're not in Europe, they're like in the middle of America. When it was a colonial state. Classical education was the backbone of 18th century learning, especially in British and American colonies. They were saturated in Roman history and political theory from childhood onward. Classical education. We gotta bring back classical education. Roman authors, Cicero, Livy, Tacitus, Virgil, Horace, Sallust, Plutarch's Lives, Roman law and political ideas. To be considered educated, you need to read Latin fluently and know Roman history. What? Many colonial schools are literally called Latin. They read Roman political thinkers constantly. Holy shit. Seriously? Wait, so you're telling me... So, most founding fathers all knew Latin. Exactly. Serious? Holy shit, bro. Especially in the elites, Latin was the language of education, scholarship, and politics. Boys started learning Latin as early as age 7 or 8, usually grammar schools or private tutors. Hold up. George Washington. Languages. Spoke only one language, English. Somebody's bullshitting me. Who's bullshitting me? What about no? He did not learn or speak French or any other languages. Okay, what about Thomas Jefferson. Could Jefferson speak read English, French, Latin, Italian, could also read ancient Greek and Spanish. Okay, what's the other founder? James Monroe. Was multilingual, fluent in French, Dutch due to his time diplomat. He also was highly fluency in Latin Greek, which he studied early in his life. He learned some Spanish in life, possibly from reading Primer and Don Quixote. That is interesting, bro. George Washington, while not as formally educated, okay, that makes sense. He only spoke English. He had enough classic around him to understand the illusions. That was the language of law, government, and philosophies. Legal terms from that was the language of scholarship. Dude, we gotta learn. We gotta learn classical history. Beyond Latin, some also knew Greek. Some founders also studied Greek, Plato, Aristotle, but Latin was more widespread. God damn, bro.
BCE to one of Rome's leading families. His birth was somewhat miraculous, requiring a surgical procedure that we know today as a Caesarian section. Coming as he did from the senatorial class, it was natural that Caesar would serve in both the army and the Senate, which he did. He rose through the ranks, and after some top-notch generaling and a gig as the governor of Spain, he decided to run for consul. In order to win, Caesar needed financial help, which he got from Crassus, one of Rome's richest men. Crassus ran a private fire company whose business model was essentially, hey, I notice your house is on fire. Give me some money and I'll help you out with that. Caesar succeeded in becoming consul in 59 BCE and thereafter sought to dominate Roman politics by allying himself with Crassus and also with Rome's other most powerful man, the general Pompey. You'll no doubt remember Pompey from his fascination with Alexander the Great. Pompey, Crassus, and Caesar were the so-called First Triumvirate, and the alliance worked out super well for Caesar. Not so well for the other two. Let's go to the thought bubble. After a year as consul that included getting the Senate to pass laws largely because of intimidation by Pompey's troops, Caesar landed the governorship of Gaul, at least the southern part of Gaul that Rome controlled. He quickly conquered the rest of Gaul, and his 4 loyal armies, or legions as the Romans called them, became his source of power. Caesar continued his conquests, invading Britain and waging another successful war against the Gauls. While he was away, Crassus died in battle with the Parthians, and Pompey, who had become Caesar's rival and enemy, was elected consul. Pompey and the Senate decided to try to strip Caesar of his command and recall him to Rome. If he returned to Rome without an army, Caesar would have been prosecuted for corrupt consuling and also probably exceeding his authority as governor, so instead, he returned with the 13th Legion. He crossed the Rubicon River, famously saying, "The die is cast," or possibly, "Let the die be cast." Sorry, Thought Bubble, sources disagree. Basically, Caesar was invading his own hometown. Pompey was in charge of Rome's army, but like a boss, fled the city. And by 48 BCE, Caesar was in total command of all of Rome's holdings, having been named both dictator and consul. Caesar set out to Egypt to track down Pompey, only to learn that he'd already been assassinated by agents of the pharaoh Ptolemy. Egypt had its own civil war at the time between the pharaoh and his sister/wife Cleopatra. Ptolemy was trying to curry favor with Caesar by killing his enemy, but Caesar was mad in that the only person who gets to tease my little brother is me kind of way, except with murder instead of teasing. So Caesar sided with, and scootily pooped with, Cleopatra. Thanks, Thought Bubble. Cleopatra went on to become the last pharaoh of ancient Egypt and then bet on Mark, I am the wrong horse, Antony, instead of Emperor, there is a baby attached to my leg, Augustus. But before all that, Caesar made his way back from Egypt to Rome, stopping off to defeat a few kings in the east on his way, and was declared dictator again. That position was later extended for 10 years, and then for life. He was elected.
Just curious. What did our founding fathers think about open borders? They didn't discuss open borders. The moderns get the idea of nations generally welcome, but with some limits. The U.S. was founded on the nation of immigrants, most colonials were immigrants. colonists were immigrants were descendants of immigrants, many found foundations of the population, economy, and defense. Example, Ben Franklin expressed concerns about immigration from certain groups he thought might not simultaneously but broadly supported welcoming industrial settlers. Thomas Jefferson saw immigration as essential to America's future and believed the U.S. should attract virtuous people. I agree. Virtuous people. That's the key. Borders and sovereignty. The new U.S. government asserted sovereign control over its territory, including the right to regulate who could settle or become citizens. Constitution grants Congress the power to establish uniform nationalized law, which shows they expect to control who could become citizens. This implies some degree of border control was assumed. Citizenship and naturalization founders debated who could be citizen. The first naturalization law limited citizenship to free white persons, showing restrictions on who could become citizens. So if I was... So someone like me could never become an American, right? Because these three white persons. They wanted to ensure loyalty and cultural cohesion to the republic. No concept of borders, modern concept of borders, free immigration, government controls did not exist. Because it's fucking stupid. Right? Travel and migration were more limited by logistics and political boundaries, but government still controlled who could settle in their land. Some warning about immigration, Franklin, for example, for instance, worried about certain immigration groups not assimilating or affecting social order, but many saw immigration as positive, especially for growth. I agree. Summary there. Okay. What did the founding fathers think was the cause of the decline of Rome? Founding fathers, deeply influential by classical history and political philosophy, generally believed that the decline of Rome was caused by a combination of decay, loss of civic virtue, corruption, and the erosion of republican values, along with practical issues of military overreach and flexibility. Moral decay and loss of civic virtue. Many founders saw Rome's decline as cautionary tale of what happens when citizens stop putting the republic above personal interests. They believed Roman citizens were selfish, decadent, corrupt, abandoning indiscipline and virtue that had built the republic. This erosion of public spirit led to political factionalism, created a weakening of institutions. Corruption and tyranny. We have this today. Roman citizens grew selfish, decadent, corrupt, abandoning indiscipline and virtue that had built the republic. Corruption and tyranny, the rise of corruption and the concentration of powers in the hands of the few. Emperors, generals, seen as a betrayal of the republic's ideals. Figures like Julius Caesar and Augustus represented the transition from republic to autocracy, which many founders feared. They viewed the loss of checks and balances and the rise of monarchy or dictatorship as key factors in decline. So, the founding fathers was thinking about the decline of Rome while they were writing the Constitution. Military overextension and economic problems. Rome's vast empire created logistical, financial, and military strains, constant warfare, drained resources, and required reliance on mercenaries or less loyal troops, weakening the state's cohesion. Loss of republican institutions, the Senate and other Republican bodies lost real power. The balance of power broke down. The founders believed the preservation of Republican institutions and sufficient power was essential to avoid Rome's fate. Influence of classical thinkers. Founders, historians, and philosophers like Livy, Atticus, Cicero, Polybius emphasized these themes. Cicero in particular lamented the decline of virtue and rise of tyranny, which deeply influenced their thinking. Examples from founders: James Madison, worried about factions and dangers of political corruption in the Federalist Papers, especially referencing Roman history as a lesson. Thomas Jefferson admired the republic's virtue and warning against the dangers of decadence and centralization of power. John Adams wrote about the importance of moral virtue and feared the rise of aristocracy and monarchy. So is the people. So the people fell, and then the government fell as it followed. Is that what they're thinking? So So, the founding fathers were thinking about Rome while they were writing the Constitution. Absolutely, yes. We're very much about Rome while writing the Constitution, Roman history, political ideas, Rome as the ultimate republic example. Polybius' analysis of the Constitution makes nature deeply influenced their thinking. Polybius. Fear of Roman decline and shaped priorities. They studied how Romans were pulled apart by corruption, constitutional power, and loss of civic virtue. The desire to avoid tyranny like Caesar's leadership led to structures like the presidency with limited terms and congressional oversight. The Senate model in Rome, the U.S. Senate was explicitly inspired by the Roman Senate, designed as a more stable, deliberative body balancing the House of Representatives. They debated the Senate role intensely, seeking to replicate the senatorial wisdom but to avoid its eventual acidification. Roman virtues. Okay. So, tell me some of these virtues. Actually, all the virtues. Civic virtue, putting the common good above personal interest, active participation in public life and governance, willingness to serve the state selflessly, even at a personal cost. Cincinnatus. Honor, acting with integrity and moral rightness, valuing reputation for honesty and justice, upholding one's duty consistently, self-restraint, moderation, resisting excess ambition, greed, or power hunger, maintaining discipline and balance in personal life and public life, avoiding corruption and tyranny, patriotism, devotion to liberty, to the republic or country, sacrificing personal gain for national welfare. Where the fuck is this national welfare? Justice, commitment to fairness and rule of law, ensuring rights and duties are balanced among citizens, fortitude, willingness to face danger or adversity for the republic, moral courage to stand for principle even against popular opinion. Diligence, hard work, perseverance in both private and public life, building the republic with steady effort, not shortcuts. Humility, avoiding vanity and arrogance, especially in leadership, recognizing one's role in service, not domination. Alright.
Elected consul in 46 BCE and then again in 45 BCE, this last time without a co-consul. By 45 BCE, Caesar was the undisputed master of
Caesar, right? What did they think of Caesar? What did they think about Julius Caesar? Like or dislike? Generally viewed Julius Caesar as a warning example. The embodiment of how a republic can fall to tyranny when one man accumulates too much power. They admired the Roman Republic ideals, but feared what Caesar represented. The end of the Republic of Liberty and the rise of dictatorship. The symbol of tyranny and the fall of the Republic, Caesar was seen as a man to undermine the Roman Republic's allowances by making himself dictator for life. His rise marked a transition from political autocracy, something the founders deeply feared. They worried that concentration of power in one individual threatened liberty. Cautionary tale. Caesar's assassination was debated among the founders as both a desperate practice of the Republic and a dangerous precedent. The founders admired the idea of resisting tyranny, but also recognized the chaos that followed Caesar's death. The tension informed a cautious approach to executive power, strong enough to govern, but limited to prevent dictatorship. Influence on the presidency. The founders wanted to avoid a Caesar's return. Whoop, too late. We got Trump. Although he was elected democratically, right? So he lost in 2020. He wasn't the president in 2020, and he became president in 2024 through campaigning. And we'll see. He says he wants to run in 2028, but I don't think he will. Washington was often contrasted with Caesar. He relinquished power voluntarily, unlike Caesar. Mixed views among founders. Some founders like Alexander Hamilton admire Caesar's decisiveness, leadership qualities, but still rejected authoritarianism. Others like Thomas Jefferson and John Adams were more aware and emphasized liberty and republicanism over strong centralized power. They used these examples in speeches and writings to illustrate the dangers of ambitions and unchecked power. For example, anti-federalism invokes Caesar's rise as a warning against creating too powerful a central government. Julius Caesar's dangerous dictatorship ended the Roman Republic. A warning about the risks of concentration of power influenced the founder's design of a balanced government with limited executive terms, and inspired reverence for leadership, leaders like Washington who gave up power long. Okay, so which presidents would our founding fathers endorse? Fascinating question. George Washington, of course, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, Theodore Roosevelt. Presidents they might criticize. Andrew Jackson, any president who oversteps constitutional bounds, politicians who lack civic virtue. Man, they're gonna love Trump. What would they think about Trump? Very mixed, mostly critical based on style and actions, civic virtue and character. His combative style for personal attacks, focus on emotion would probably clash with ideals. Respect for institutions ignored, they believe respect for constitutional balances in law, peaceful source of power. Political factions and division. Many founders warned about factions and political polarization as dangers to the republic. Trump's polarizing rhetoric and emphasis on partisan loyalty might be seen as harmful to national unity. Executive power and accountability, while they wanted a strong executive, it was one limited by law and accountability. Founders would likely scrutinize Trump's use of executive orders, confrontation with Congress, and resistance to oversight. Strong leadership and populist appeal. Figures like Andrew Jackson who value popular connection and assertive leadership might sympathize with Trump's appeal to the people. The desire to shake influential elites might resonate with some founders who worry about aristocratic corruption, nationalism and sovereignty. Founders were invested in national sovereignty and self-preservation, a focus on American interests might align with their values. I don't want to say Trump. Trump today. What is he doing today? PBS. Latest news? Can they stop doing this? Show me the fucking time. Why is this dot here?
Okay. We can cut that then. So we can cut that.
Look, just show me 7:43. Like, why did I have to link it out with dots?
A question about this tragic shooting in Washington, D.C. U.S. officials say that the suspect worked very closely with the CIA.
Would they compare Andrew Jackson with Caesar? Yes. Many founding fathers and later thinkers influenced by them did compare Andrew Jackson to Caesar. Often as a cautionary analogy. Who came after Andrew Jackson? Is the seventh president? Who came after Jackson? He was the seventh president. Martin Van Buren. Huh. Jackson is a popular strongman. Was the first president who found himself as a directly representative of the people in a mass democracy, appealing to popular will rather than legally. Did Andrew Jackson have classical education? Did not have classical education. Grew up in Carolinas in a modest environment, not elite. Unlike Jefferson and Madison, who and others who studied Latin, Greek, and classical school, Jackson did not study Latin and Greek. Which presidents studied classical education? Many presidents: Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Madison, James Monroe, John C. Adams, Henry, William Harrison, John Tyler, James Buchanan, Rutherford B. Hayes, Woodrow Wilson. The guy who dragged us into World War I? Woodrow Wilson. This guy? He's considered the worst president, right? Presidents with less formal class education, limited schooling, no class training, military education, limited class studies, largely self-educated, little formal classical schooling, classical education, highly read and Greek. Studied classics at Harvard. FDR? You? You studied classics? You? And then you stayed for 4 terms. What? How does that work? Theodore Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt. Wasn't there a guy who didn't win 2 consecutive terms? Oh, it was you. Grover Cleveland. I thought it was Teddy Roosevelt. $45, the portraits became darker.
In Afghanistan for years, but he was vetted.
Rome, and he pursued reforms that strengthened his own power. He provided land pensions for his soldiers, restructured the debts of a huge percentage of Rome's debtors, and also changed the calendar to make it look more like the one we use today. But by 44 BCE, many senators had decided that Caesar controlled too much of the power in Rome, and so they stabbed him 23 times on the floor of the Roman Senate. Caesar was duly surprised about this and everything, but he never said et tu, Brute, when he realized Brutus was one of the co-conspirators. That was an invention of Shakespeare. The conspirators thought the death of Caesar would bring about the restoration of the Roman Republic. And they were wrong. For one thing, Caesar's reforms were really popular with the Roman people, who were quick to hail his adopted son Octavian, as well as his second-in-command, Mark I am the wrong horse Antony, and a dude named Lepidus, as a second triumvirate. This triumvirate was an awesome failure, degenerating into a second civil war. Octavian and Antony fought it out. Antony, being the wrong horse, lost. Octavian won, changed his name to Caesar Augustus, became sole ruler of Rome, attached a baby to his leg, adopted the title emperor, and started printing coins identifying himself as Divini Filius, the Son of God. More on that next week. Although Augustus tried to pretend that the forms of the Roman Empire were still intact, the truth was he made the laws and the Senate had become nothing more than a rubber stamp. Which reminds me, it's time for the open letter. Movie magic! An open letter to the Roman Senate. Oh, but first, let's check what's in the secret compartment. Oh, it's a harmonica. Stan, do you want me to play some old Roman folk songs? Very well. Stan, I just want to thank you for doing such a good job of overdubbing there. Dear Roman Senate, whether you were rubber stamping the laws of Emperor Augustus or stabbing Caesar on the floor of your sacred hall, you were always doing something. I don't want to sound nostalgic for a time when people lived to be 30, a tiny minority of adults could vote, and the best fashion choice was bed sheets. But oh my God, at least you did something. Your Senate was chosen from among the patrician class. Our Senate here in the United States is chosen from among the obstructionist class. But don't get me wrong, Roman Senate, you were terrible. Best wishes, John Green. So did Caesar destroy the Roman Republic? Well, he started a series of civil wars, he seized power for himself, he subverted the ideas of the Republic, he changed the Constitution, but he's only really to blame if he was the first one to do that. And he wasn't. Take the general Marius, for instance, who rose to power on the strength of his generalship and on his willingness to open up the army to the poor, who were loyal to him personally and not to Rome, and whom he promised land in exchange for their good service in the army. This, of course, required the Romans to keep conquering new land so they could keep giving it to new legionnaires. Marius was also consul 5 times in a row, 60 years before Caesar. Or look at the Roman general Sulla, who, like Marius, ensured that his armies would be more loyal to him personally than to Rome, but who marched against Rome itself and then became its dictator, executing thousands of people in 81 BCE, 30 years before Caesar entered the scene. There's another way of looking at this question altogether if we dispense with great man history. Maybe Rome became an empire before it had an emperor. Like, remember the Persian Empire? You'll recall that that empire had some characteristics that made it imperial, like a unified system of government, continual military expansion, and a diversity of subject peoples. The Roman Empire had all 3 of those characteristics long before it became the Roman Empire. Like, Rome started out as a city, and then it became a city-state, and then a kingdom, and then a republic. But that entire time, it was basically comprised of the area around Rome. By the 4th century BCE, Rome started to incorporate its neighbors, like the Latins and the Etruscans, and pretty soon they had all of Italy under their control. But that's not really diversity of subject peoples. I mean, nothing personal Italians, but you have a lot of things in common, like the constant gesticulations. If you want to talk about real expansion and diversity, you got to talk about the Punic Wars. These were the wars that I remember primarily because they involved Hannibal crossing the Alps with freaking war elephants, which was probably the last time that the elephants could have risen up and formed their awesome secret elephant society with elephant planes and elephant cars.
Hey,
During
what's
the
up?
war, Rome wanted
It's been a
Sicily,
while.
which was controlled by the Carthaginians. Rome won, which made Carthage cranky, so they started the Second Punic War. In 219 BCE, Hannibal attacked a Roman town, then led an army across Spain, and then crossed the freaking Alps
Yeah.
with the elephants. Hannibal and his
got
elephant
a
army
dog, by the
almost
way.
won, but alas, they didn't, and as a result, the Romans got Spain. People in Spain are definitely not Romans, despite Russell Crowe's character in Gladiator, which means that by 201 BCE, Rome was definitely an empire. The Third Punic War was a formality.
Yeah, I just
It was
felt
an
bored.
excuse to attack Carthage and then
I couldn't
destroy it
stop
so
thinking about the Roman
completely
Empire.
that these days you can't even find it on a map. Eventually, this whole area and a lot more would be incorporated into a system of provinces, and millions of people would be ruled by the Roman Empire. And it's ridiculous to say that Rome was a republic until Augustus became Rome's first official emperor, because by that time Rome had been an empire for almost 200 years. There's a reason I'm arguing that the death of the republic came long before Caesar, and probably around the time that Rome became an empire. If anything, just
Wait a minute, let me check that. When did Roman Republic start accumulating power to the dictator? Early use was Cincinnatus accumulation of power over centuries among, especially during the late Republic. Second to first century BC. Really? Maybe it's because you commented a lot.
And
destroyed the idea of Republican Rome. It was the concentration of power into the hands of one man. And this man was always a general. I mean, you can't march on Rome without an army, after all. Why were there such powerful generals? Because Rome had decided to become an empire, and empires need to expand militarily. Particularly, the Roman Empire needed to expand militarily because it always needed new land to give its retired legionnaires. That expansion created the all-powerful general, and the incorporation of diverse peoples made it easier for them to be loyal to him rather than to some abstract idea of the Republic. Julius Caesar didn't create emperors. Empire created them. Next week, we'll be discussing Christianity, so that shouldn't be controversial. Until then, thanks for watching. Crash Course is produced and directed.
Wait, did people... Where does the word empire come from? Where does the word empire come from? The word empire comes from the Latin word imperium, which means command, authority, dominion. Push recap. How do I check? Twitch recap. Let me see. No. It's blurry. Let me. Oh, you have to put spaces between. Yeah, I don't know how to uncensor it. Delete messages, pause chats only, chat highlight, chat appearance, maybe? I have to log in. I don't know how to uncensor it. Screen reader auto announce. I pinned it. How many months am I streaming? Whenever I'm bored. What did you stream last time? I think it was like a month ago? I forgot. Let me see. It was on October 28th, so about a month ago. No, I stream every now and then. I don't have a schedule though, so whenever I'm not busy. Shield mode. What is shield mode? Can you link it with some spaces? I streamed for 300 hours this year. Holy shit. I have 37 followers. When did I get that? My voice is echoing. Hold up. Okay, I think I fixed it. I gotta uncensor these links, man. How to uncensor links on Twitch. Change your personal viewing settings. And content display preferences under settings to disable filters, sexual themes, gambling. Creator dashboard, maybe? Streaming tools. Safety center. How to uncensor Twitch chat.
In this video, I'll show you how to uncensor Twitch chat. I'll show you how to do it. See, just go ahead over to your app. Now, to be able to click on it, which is named Chat Settings. And as you can see here, under My Preferences, you'll be able to see Chat Filters. Alright, click on it. When this one is enabled for you, under that, there are some sort of options right here that is really explicit language censor. Right here will be turned. You're good to go. Now to do it,
Oh yeah, you're in my recaps too. Is this you're one of my #1 fans?
on phone, open up your off. Alright, once done, the toggle right here at the top will be turned here. Alright, options right here. That one preferences, you'll be able to see chat.
I'll show you. Wait a minute. Twitch recap. I gotta log in. Here. There you are. Your biggest fans. Right there. Yeah. Well, I don't know how to click on the link. Followers only, subscriber only, clip visibility. Let viewers upload clips. Enable clips. Always publish VODs. Copyright audio warnings. Let viewers upload clips to their socials. Subscriber only. Yeah, because the links that you're sending me, they're censored, so I wanted to get rid of that. Moderation. Automod and message filtering. Automatically screen and hold. Alright. Sexual content, channel protection. Manage how others can engage. Harmful chatter detection. Stop banned users from viewing your stream. Followers phone verification. Chatter permissions. Mod management. View advanced settings. Smart detection. Automod uses machine learning to detect profanity. Nah. stream together. Adjust your personal filter. You can disable or enable filtering chat option. Discrimination. Links. To block links, ask Dermir's block all links in your creator dashboard. Go to settings and moderation and turn on I think I found it. In your creator
Here
dashboard.
it is. If a pale
Go to settings. And then moderation. Block hyperlinks. Hyperlinks. Alright, I think I did it. Can you send the link again? Right, back to this.
Directed by Stan Miller. Our script supervisor is Danica Johnson. The show is written by...
The fall of Roman Empire in the 15th century.
Hi there, my name is John Green. This is Crash Course World History, and today we're going to talk about Jesus. So this is a Roman coin from around the time Jesus was born in the Roman Empire, and it calls Augustus, the emperor, the Son of God. So let's just state at the outset that in 4 BCE, being the Son of God, or at least being the son of a god, was not...
Hey, there we have it. The Son of God. Where does the word, phrase, Son of God come from? I just did that setting. Try sending the link again. The phrase Son of God has roots in ancient religious and cultural traditions and has evolved into meaning over time. In ancient Hebrew surrounding culture, Son of God was used metaphorically for beings or people who had special relationship with a deity. In the Hebrew Bible, it can refer to angels, kings. Yeah, I see it. Hey. 36, god damn, bro. And 2,000 chats. Who's this number 2? Yeah. I was trying to get that to work. Just chatting, co-work, and studying. You like studying too? And music. Valorant, you play Valorant?
Not such an unusual thing, but a poor Jew being the Son of God, that was news. Any understanding of Christianity has to start with Judaism because Jesus was born a Jew and he grew up in the Jewish tradition. He was one of many teachers spreading his ideas in the Roman province of Judea at the time, and he was part of a messianic tradition that helps us understand why he was thought of not only as a teacher, but as something much, much more. Let's go straight to the thought bubble today. The people who would become the Jews were just one of many tribal peoples eking out an existence in that not very fertile crescent world of Mesopotamia after the agricultural revolution. The Hebrews initially worshipped many gods, making sacrifices to them in order to bring good weather and good fortune, but they eventually developed a religion centered around an idea that would become key to the other great Western religions. This was monotheism, the idea that there is only one true God, or at least that if there are other gods, they're total lamoids. The Hebrews developed this—
Wait a minute. He kind of looks like me. Doesn't he kind of look like me? Part of there? Yeah. He kinda does, right?
Second concept that is key to their religion as well, the idea of the covenant, a deal with God. The main man in this, the big mocker, was Abraham. Not to make this too much of a scripture lesson, but it's kind of hard to understand the Jews without understanding Abraham, or Abram as he was known before he had his big conversation with God recorded in Genesis 17. When Abram was 90 years and 9, the Lord appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty God, walk before me and be thou perfect. And I'm gonna make a covenant with you and a bunch of cool things will happen, like you're gonna have kids and your descendants will number the stars and you can have all the land of Canaan forever. It's gonna be awesome. I'm paraphrasing.
Wait, what did our founding fathers think of Jesus? What did our founding fathers think of Jesus? Stay light. He's from China. Maybe he got busy too. Great question. The founding fathers of the US had a variety of views about Jesus and religion in general, reflecting the diversity of thought among them. Here's a broader view. General context. Most of the founding fathers were influenced by Enlightenment ideas, which emphasized reason, morality, and often a more deistic view of God. Christianity was culturally dominant in colonial America, but many founders did not strictly adhere to orthodox Christian doctrines. He was busy with some work. Yeah. I'm guessing a lot of people just stream when they're bored. They want to get something out. They often value Jesus more as a moral teacher than as a divine figure. The traditional Christian says, same. You saw news about China fire? Oh yeah, in Hong Kong? Yeah. The Hong Kong fire. Damn, was he affected? Maybe that's why he stopped streaming. Actually, no. He said last year, right? Well, something's going on in Hong Kong. It's like the population rate is like 1. Let me see, what is the population rate world? Fertility rate? By country. Yeah, something's going on in Hong Kong. Like look at that. Macau and Hong Kong. This is not normal, right? This is like a genocide happening. South Korea too. That's pretty odd. So I'm guessing they didn't have enough people to maintain their buildings. Let me see. What happened in Hong Kong with the fires? Here's what's known about what happened recently in Wang Fuk Court, the devastating fire in Hong Kong, Tai Po District. It's a complex and tragic situation. November 26, around 2:51. Did you play some games? Offline story games in Resident Evil? No. I did get a new PC though. And I got into Civ 6. Sid Meier's Civilization 6. The human caused deaths. As the most recent official counts, at least 159. Holy shit. Yeah, I got a new PC. Finally. About 31 people remain unaccounted for missing. Many residents have been displaced. What's being done? Investigations and arrests. What do you mean arrests? Did someone commit a crime? Judge-led independent review has been ordered aimed at investigating fire safety regulation failures and broader systematic issues. Officials have ordered immediate citywide removal of similar scaffolding netting from all buildings. Yeah, but why are people being arrested? Like, wasn't it an accident? The tragedy had triggered public outrage, demands for accountability, and questions about enforcement and safety standards, especially in ordered public houses and estates under renovation. Bigger significance. This is the deadliest residential fire in Hong Kong in decades. The scale of loss is unprecedented in recent history. It exposed serious gaps in building safety oversight, especially during renovations of older housing estates, raising broader concerns about housing safety across the city. The disaster had reignited debate about construction standards, the use of materials like bamboo, scaffolding, netting versus fire-safe alternatives, and what enforcement and accountability should look like moving forward. I don't know, it seems like an accident to me. Why are people being arrested? What time is it? It's 3:09 p.m. I'm probably gonna stream for like 1 more hour. Hong Kong races to remove scaffolding nets. Yeah. Gotta go in about 1 hour. Gotta walk my dog. This is by Reuters. Apparently this is dangerous. The scaffolding. How many scaffolding incidents? 2:40 a.m. Are they in Europe or something? Known statistically, tracked scaffolding construction accidents. According to official construction figures between 2018 and 2024, there had been 23 deaths. Fatalities involving bamboo scaffolders are often reported. One source says there's 22 deaths. As of 2025, there were around 25,000 registered bamboo scaffolding masters working in Hong Kong. Fires and scaffolding-related blaze accidents. According to media reporting, 2024 alone, Hong Kong saw 127 fires involving scaffolding, a 68% increase. Damn. Something's going on. Incident is loosely defined. Fires often get classified by buildings, residential fire statistics, not scaffolding fire statistics. Many smaller accidents may go underreported or be masked among general industrial accident totals. For a movie tomorrow? Oh, India. Let me see.
(1971) के जंग पाकिस्तान में बड़ा उदास सा माहौल था। मैं 6 साल का था। रेडियो सुन रहा था। उस वक्त जिया उल हक ने एक ऐसी बात बोली जो मेरे जहन में गड़ गई. Bleed India with 1,000 cuts.
He's a
बिल्कुल
Pakistani.
ऐसे जिस तरह हमने इसके जिस्म पे इतने छोटे-छोटे से सुराख बनाए ना, इससे बदतर हालत करूंगा मैं उस मुल्क की. लेकिन आज का बिस्मिल्लाह इसके
Allah.
साथ.
He's Muslim.
और आप हैं मेजर इकबाल ISI से. इनकी मर्जी के बगैर पाकिस्तानी सियासत का एक पत्ता भी नहीं हिल सकता.
मेजर इकबाल साहब जिस पर मेहरबान हो जाएं.
That can't be a real torture. Okay. And no ratings yet.
There's a big bad gangster on the loose, thick skin coat with a black leather, big news. There ain't nothing that a man can do, so bring in the war with blood, we pay dues. There's a gangster, words he don't speak, but the danger will tame ya. Shit where you eat, little bitch, say your prayers. Call him the gangster, don't slander the stranger.
सर, मुंह तोड़ने के लिए मुट्ठी बंद करना जरूरी है. We must infiltrate the very core of terrorism in Pakistan. ताकि वो भारत के खिलाफ अगर
Oh, the release is today or tomorrow.
तो उनके ख्वाब में भी हम बैठे नजर आने चाहिए.
Oh baby, you know what I wanna, got the trigger on the gun.
Hold up. Are you asking about the movie? Yes. The movie. Yes, tell me about the movie. In India. It's an India Hindi language spy action. Another spy movie? It's produced in Aditya Dar under banners of Geo Studios and B62 Studios. He's an intelligent spy character, Sanjay Dutt. The movie is described as gritty, intense spy action drama, heavy on espionage, covert operations, and revenge.
वादा किया गया उसे भूलने की गुस्ताखी मत करना. रहमान डकैत की दी हुई मौत बड़ी कसाई नुमा होती है.
Look, okay, panic. When I walk in, they gon' panic. There's too much blood, they need bandage. There ain't nobody left standing. When I take shots, they can't manage.
बहुत साल पहले ना एक शैतान और एक जिन में जबरदस्त सेक्स हुआ. 9 महीने बाद जो पैदा हुआ उसका नाम पड़ा चौधरी असलम.
अगर मेरे साथ दगाबाजी की ना तो मारने से पहले तुझे रणवा बना दूंगा. और जमील साहब आपको खस्सी
Dynamite.
अगर तुम लोगों के पटाखे खत्म हो गए तो मैं धमाका शुरू करूं.
Is this airing in America? Will this air in the US? Good question. The US might be able to watch it The film is slated for global theatrical release in December 5th. According to recent reports, the digital streaming rights have been acquired by Netflix. The streaming release on Netflix is scheduled for January 30th. Oh, so it is coming to America. Yes, there's a strong chance you'll be able to see it in the US. It should appear theatrically in overseas markets. Damn. So they kind of geared this towards the US audience, or global markets.
बिगाड़ लो जो बिगाड़ सकते हो बिगाड़ने का वक्त आ गया है
Ladies and gentlemen, you are not ready for this.
Holy shit, whoa. 61 million, when did that happen? 59 million? Is this like a... Yeah, it racked up a lot of views. Background song. Wait, how much did the Joker get? Wait, Napoleon. What movie? Joker movie trailer. The Joker got 103, and that was pretty hype. It looks like this is gonna overtake it in about a month or two. God damn, bro. 59 million. How did I miss this one?
Get ready!
I'm a king, but I pop, I'm a saint. They call me a bad man, that's a good thing. Mama said swing back when another man swings, so I make my mama proud and they make the heads ring. Father, forgive me, I can't forgive them. You know my history, know what I did then. And what I do now, a whole lot worse. Heavy is the head, it's a blessing and a curse.
It reminds me of that one song. Indian dance song, TikTok. Wedding song. Isn't this the same song? What is this? It's a different song. It feels like it's by the same creator. Ravnir Sin. Global wedding dance trends. What's going on here? This is so ass, man. I can't see anything. Let me see. It has to be the same creator or something. Indian dance wedding. Kaifi Khalil. My dog's doing something. Hey. What a weird song to add to this game. But it fits. Far Cry, where is this game? Where is this setting? Himalayan country of Karat. Okay, so it makes sense. It's in India, Nepal, Tibet. Yeah, it makes sense they have the song there. Far Cry 4 Metacritic. Game's pretty good too. Right? It's almost 3. It's 3:30 right here. What is the name? My name is Jupiter. Alright. I'll finish watching this and go back to Roman Empire. Stupid? No, Jupiter. Like the planet?
So I make my mama proud when they make their heads rain.
See that? Good dog. He's the best dog. Alright, back to Roman Empire.
By the way, Thought Bubble. So God promised that Abram would have kids with his wife, even though the dude was already like
That's
99.
movie.
But there was a catch. This is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee, every man-child among you shall be circumcised. Keep it PG-13, Thought Bubble. Now
Oh, did I
that
miss
ye
something?
shall... Awesome. I'm paraphrasing, by the way, Thought Bubble. So God promised that Abram would have kids with his wife, even though the dude was already like 99. But there was a catch. This is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee, every man-child among you shall be circumcised. Keep it PG-13, Thought Bubble. Now that is
Weird
asking
promise,
a lot
but
from a
okay.
guy, especially a 99-year-old geezer like Abram living in a time before general anesthesia. But those were the terms of the deal, and in exchange, God had chosen Abraham and his descendants to be a great nation. From this, we get the expression that the Jews are the chosen people. Thanks for keeping it clean, Thought Bubble. So some important things about this God. One, singularity. He, and I'm using the masculine pronoun because that's what Hebrew prayers use, does not want you to put any gods before him. He is also transcendent, having always existed, and he is
Alright.
deeply
Good night.
personal. He chats with prophets, sends locusts, etc. But he doesn't take
I'm gonna
corporeal
stream
form
for
like Greek
30
and
more
Roman
minutes.
gods do. He is also involved in history, like he will destroy cities and bring floods and determine the outcome of wars and possibly football games. Stan, no, football games. Probably most important to us today, and certainly most important to Jesus, this God demands moral righteousness and social justice. So this is the God of the Hebrews, Yahweh, and despite many ups and downs, the Jewish people have stuck with him for, according to the Hebrew calendar at least, over 5,700 years. And he is stuck by them too, despite the Jews being on occasion something of a disappointment to him, which leads to various miseries and also to a tradition of...
Oh, yeah. The founding fathers. Viewing Jesus. Value Jesus primarily as a moral teacher and exemplar, so... Alright, see ya. I'll probably stream in a few days, if I have time. Often rejected or were skeptical of traditional Christian doctrines like Trinity, miracles, and the resurrection. That's what I think too. Embraced religious freedom and were wary of mixing church and state, viewed Christianity as an important civic morality, but often aligned with Enlightenment rationalism. If you want, I can dive deeper into quotes beliefs. Would you like that? Yes. I'll try to stream in a few days. Jefferson famously said about Jesus, "The doctrine of Jesus are simple, and tend all to reduce morality to practice and to make it the ruling principle of life." He admired Jesus' moral teaching but rejected miracles and divinity. That's why he created the Jefferson Bible, which he edited out supernatural parts, only focusing on Jesus' ethical lessons. Jefferson called himself a Christian in a broad sense, but was really more of a deist who respected reason above religious dogma. So our founding fathers were... Yeah, they're basically Jews, right? They have the same belief of Jews, and then Jesus is this one guy that they learn from. So, like... Alright, see ya. So, like... Jews today... Secular Jews. Secular Jews. But with Jesus. And Lewis says, many of the founding fathers approached Jesus more like a secular moral philosopher than traditional believers. They admired Jesus as a wise teacher of ethics, kind of like how secular Jews might value the cultural and moral sense lesson from your heritage without necessarily embracing religious dogma. To put it simply, they appreciate Jesus as a moral guide, but were often skeptical or dismissive of Jesus, the divine Son of God, in a supernatural or Orthodox Christian sense. They favored reason, liberty, and ethics over strict religious orthodoxy, so they were more Jesus as a teacher of virtue than Jesus as divine Messiah. And this gave their political and social philosophy a distinctly Enlightenment secular flavor, even while operating in a largely Christian cultural context. So, is that Christian? Is that even Christian? Believers in Jesus as divine Son of God, part of the Trinity, accepts miracles, resurrection, salvation, holds creeds like the Nicene Creed of Apostles. Summary. Most founders were not Orthodox Christians by strict theological standards. Many identified culturally or ethically with Christianity, focused on Jesus' moral example. Their beliefs were often a blend of Christianity, deism, and Enlightenment rationalism. So in short, they were Christian in a cultural and ethical sense, but were often not in a traditional theological sense. Yeah, if this is what they believe in, then I might be Christian. Because this is what I believe. Jeffersonian Christianity, or Enlightenment Christianity. Alright, tell me about it. Tell me the teachings of Jesus, the founding fathers took. The golden rule: do unto others as you would have them unto you. The principle of empathy and reciprocal kindness was central idea to moral injustice, love, and clarity. Love your neighbor as yourself. Founders saw this as foundational social harmony, community support, public virtue, humility and servanthood, forgiveness and mercy, moral integrity and truthfulness, peace and non-violence, to an extent. Blessed are the peacemakers. While the founders supported self-defense and revolution, the idea of peace and avoiding unnecessary conflict was valued. Justice and righteousness. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. A focus on justice, righteousness, and moral order has been... my battery is running out. How to use these teachings, they integrated these values into the idea of natural rights, civil virtue, belief that citizens and leaders must be moral and ethical for a republic to thrive. They believed religion, including Jesus' teachings, was necessary to cultivate public morality and good character. Jesus' ethical example was a guide for both personal conduct and political leadership.
Prophets who speak for God and warn the people to get back on the right path lest there be more miseries. Which brings us back to our friends, the Romans. By the time Jesus was born, the land of the Israelites had been absorbed into the Roman Empire as the province of Judea. At the time of Jesus' birth, Judea was under the control of Herod the Great, best known for building the massive temple in Jerusalem that the Romans would later destroy.
So whose side did they take? So in the war between Jews and Romans, which side did they take? Sympathy for the rebellion against tyranny. Founders deeply admire resistance to tyranny, inspired by their own fight against British rule. They might sympathize with the Jewish rebels' desire for religious and political freedom, commitment to law and order. At the same time, they value stable government and religious liberty. Since the Jews' rebellion was in part a fight for religious freedom, the founders, champions of religious liberty, might side with rebels on principle. So overall, they would likely lean sympathetic to the Jewish rebels as champion of liberty and religious freedom, but also mindful of the cost of war and upheaval. Their own experience fighting British imperial control sovereignty shaped their respect for self-determination. We would like to know any founder referenced Rome related. Nope.
And by the time Jesus died, an expanded Judea was under the rule of Herod Antipater, also unhelpfully known as Herod. Both Herods also was under the rule of Herod Antipater.
You're the guy. You're the guy, right? The guy that ordered the execution? Herod the Great of Judea. Is that you, bro? That's you, right?
Also, unhelpfully,
you're the guy that ordered the execution of all infants? Is that you, bro?
The Romans, and they both show up on the list of rulers who were oppressive to the Jews, partly because there's never that much religious freedom in an empire, unless you are, wait for it, the Mongols. Or the Persians. Also, they were Hellenizers, bringing in Greek theater and architecture and rationalism. And in response to those Hellenistic influences, there were a lot of preachers trying to get the Jews to return to the traditions and the godly ways of the past, including the Sadducees and the Pharisees and the Essenes and the Zealots. And one of those preachers, who didn't fit comfortably into any of those four groups, was Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus was a preacher who spread his message of peace, love, and above all, justice across Judea during his actually average-length life for his time. He was remarkably charismatic, attracting a small but incredibly loyal group of followers, and he was said to perform miracles, although it's worth noting that miracles weren't terribly uncommon at the time. Jesus' message was particularly resonant to the poor and downtrodden, and pretty radical in its anti-authoritarian stance. He said it was easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get to heaven. He said the meek were blessed, that the last would be first and the first would be last. All of which was kind of threatening to the powers that be, who accordingly had him arrested, tried, and then executed in the normal manner of killing rebels at that time, crucifixion. Also, just to put this question to bed, the Romans crucified Jesus because he was a threat to their authority. Later traditions saying that the Jews killed Jesus, very unfortunate.
Oh, hold up. When did Jesus claim he was the Son of God? Because Son of God means you're the Emperor, right? Or kind of. It means you're a political threat. 3 decades, Son of God claims... Jesus never directly says the exact phrase. Instead, he speaks often more in direct or symbolic terms. Son of Man, or references key moments implying Jesus' divine sonship. Son of God can mean different things, a king anointed by God like David to an angelic figure. Jesus' usage was often understood as claiming unique intimate relationship with God. In summary, he did not say it. So why was he a political threat to the Romans? How growing influence intersected with issues of power control and public order in occupied Judea. Many Jews expected the Messiah to be a political and military leader who would liberate them from Roman rule and restore Israel's kingdom. Jesus was called King of the Jews by some followers, which had clear political implications under Roman occupation. Even if Jews didn't claim to be a political revolutionary, the title was provocative to Roman authorities. King of the Jews. Really? He was called King of the Jews by some followers. How? When? How many people? Like 12? He didn't become that significant until Paul came in, right? Popularity and mass following, Jesus attracted large crowds and had a rapidly growing movement, which could be seen as source of unrest and potential rebellion. Roman concern for maintaining order. Figures perceived as potential rebel or king could trigger uprisings, so Rome was quick to suppress such threats. Pilate's decision to crucify Jesus was partly to prevent any possible rebellion and to maintain peace.
Also very untrue. We're not going to discuss Jesus' divinity because 1, this isn't a theology class, and 2, flame wars on the internet make me so uncomfortable that I have to turn to camera 2. Hi there, camera 2. I'm here to remind you that 3, fighting over such things, like fighting over whether the proverbial cake is a lie, rarely accomplishes anything. Plus, 4, what matters to us is the historical fact that people at the time believed that Jesus was the Messiah, the anointed one, the Son of God. And they believed that he would return someday to redeem the world, which leads us to 2 questions about Christianity. First, why did this small group of people believe this? And second, why and how did that belief become so widespread? So why would people believe that Jesus was the Messiah? First, the Jews had a long tradition of believing that a savior would come to them in a time of trouble. And Judea under the rule...
15th century.
Hi there, my name is John Green. This is Crash Course World History, and today we're going to talk about the fall of Rome. Mr. Green, who's that pretty lady? That lady from the past is Emperor Justinian. We'll get to him in a minute.
Emperor Justinian. Wait.
How would...
I heard someone say that if you have a woman as the head of state, your country falls soon after. Who was the first woman emperor of Rome? There's none? Some woman held extraordinary power. The first woman to rule Rome territory was Empress Irene of Byzantium, 8th century, who ruled Eastern Byzantine Empire, but that's many centuries after Classical Roman Empire period. Okay, so that counts. So when did Eastern Rome fall? Was it soon after? No, it was like centuries later.
When Rome fell remains the subject of considerable historical debate, but today I'm going to argue that Rome didn't really fall until the middle of the 15th century. But first, let me introduce you to the traditional view, barbarians at the gates. My, don't you look traditional. If you want to be really technical about it, the city of Rome was conquered by barbarians in 476 CE. There was a last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustus, who ruled the empire for less than a year before being deposed and sent into exile by Odoacer, who was some kind of barbarian, we don't know for sure. Ostrogoth, Hun, Visigoth, Vandals, they all look the same to the Romans. Rome had been sacked by barbarians before, most notably by Alaric the Visigoth in 410. Is it Alaric or Alaric? The dictionary says Alaric, but the vampire diaries say Alaric, so I'm gonna go with Alaric. But anyway, after 476 CE, there was never again a Roman emperor in Rome. Then there's the hipper anti-imperialistic argument. That's nice, but if you really want to go full hipster, you should probably deny that you're being hipster. Right, exactly. Which goes like this. Rome was doomed to fall as soon as it spread outside of Italy because the further the territory is from the capital, the harder it is to govern. Thus, imperialism itself sowed the seeds of destruction in Rome. This was the argument put forth by the Roman historian Tacitus, although he put it in the mouth of a British chieftain.
I'd agree.
That sounded dirty, but it's not. It's all about context here on Crash Course. To robbery, slaughter, plunder, they give the lying name of empire. They make a desert and call it peace. There are two ways to overcome this governance problem. First, you can rule with the proverbial topaz fist. That's not the proverb? Really, Stan? It's an iron fist? But topaz is much harder than iron. Don't these people know their Mohs scale of mineral hardness? Regardless, the Romans couldn't do this because their whole identity was wrapped up in an idea of justice that precluded indiscriminate violence. The other strategy is to try to incorporate conquered people into the empire more fully, in Rome's case, to make them Romans. This worked really well in the early days of the Roman Republic and even at the beginning of the empire, but it eventually led to barbarians inside the gates. The decline of the Roman legion started long before Rome started getting sacked. It really began with the extremely bad decision to incorporate Germanic warriors into the Roman army. Rome had a long history of absorbing people from the empire's fringes into the polity, first by making them allies and then eventually by granting them full citizenship rights. But usually these foreign citizens had developed ties to Rome itself. They learned Latin, they bought into the whole idea of the aristocratic republic. By the 3rd and 4th century CE, though, the empire had been forced to allow the kind of riffraff into their army who didn't really care about the idea of Rome itself. They were only loyal to their commanders. And as you no doubt remember from the historical examples of Caesar, Pompey, Marius, contemporary Afghanistan, this is not a recipe for domestic bliss. So here was Rome stuck with a bunch of expensive and bloody wars against Germanic peoples who were really good at fighting, and then they had a great idea. Why not fight with these guys? So they essentially hired them, and soon the Roman legions were teaming with these mercenaries who were loyal mostly to gold, secondarily to their commanders, and not at all to Rome, which was a place that very few of them ever even saw. I mean, why would they even give a crap about the health and well-being of the Roman Empire? Am I allowed to say crap, Stan? Nice. This was, of course, a recipe for civil war, and that's exactly what happened with general after general after general declaring himself emperor of Rome. So there was very little stability in the West. For instance, between 235 and 284 CE, 41 different people were either emperor or claimed to be emperor. And after the year 200, many of the generals who were powerful enough to proclaim themselves emperors weren't even Roman. In fact, a lot of them didn't speak much Latin. Oddly enough, one of the best symbols of the new face of the Roman Empire was sartorial.
We're not the same, but we have Somalians who don't speak English.
Instead of the traditional tunic and toga of the glory days of the Senate, most of the new general emperors adopted that most practical and most barbaric of garments: pants. Oh, which reminds me, it's time for the open letter. Rome, mixing power in Roman Empire, commonly known as the Byzantine Empire, although not by the people who lived in it, who identified themselves as Romans. So while the Western Roman Empire descended into chaos, the eastern half of the empire had its capital in Byzantium, a city on the Bosphorus Strait that Constantine would...
did the barbarians pillage Roman Empire naked, like the pictures? Barbarians did sack and loot Roman cities. They were often fierce warriors. So the naked barbarians you see in art or movies are more about dramatic effect and stereotypes and historical fact. They definitely pillaged, but they weren't stripping down to nothing before doing it. Who drew this picture then?
Empire had its
Who the
capital
fuck
in
drew that picture?
Byzantium, a city on the Bosphorus Strait that Constantine would later
Gay.
rename Constantinople, thereby paving the way for They Might Be Giants' only mainstream hit. Constantine moved his headquarters, and thereby the headquarters of the Roman Empire, to Constantinople in 324 CE. Constantine had lots of reasons to move his capital east. For one thing, he was born in modern-day Croatia. Also, he probably spoke better Greek than Latin. And plus, the eastern provinces were a lot richer than the western provinces, and from a looting perspective, you just want to be closer to where the good warring is. The enemies in the east, like the Persian Parthians and the Persian Sasanians, were real empires, not just bands of warriors. And no matter who you were in world history, if you wanted to make a name for yourself in terms of war, you really needed to be up against the Persians, even if you were the Mongols. Not this time, friends. As the political center of the Roman Empire shifted east, Constantine also tried to reorient his new religion, Christianity, toward the east, holding the first church council in Nicaea in 325. The idea was to get all Christians to believe the same thing. That worked, but it did mark the beginning of the emperor having greater control over the church. That trend would, of course, later lead to tensions between the church centered in Constantinople and the one centered in Rome, but more on that in a bit. To give you a sense of how dramatic this shift was, by the 4th century CE, Constantinople's population had soared while Rome's had gone from 500,000 to 80,000. And although the Byzantines spoke Greek, not Latin, they considered themselves Romans, and if they did, we probably should too. Let's go to the thought bubble. There was a lot of continuity between the old Western Roman Empire and the new Eastern one. Politically, each was ruled by a single man. Sometimes there were two, and once there were 4, but let's forget about that for now, who wielded absolute military power. War was pretty much constant as the Byzantines fought the Persian Sasanian Empire and then various Islamic empires. Trade in valuable agricultural land that yielded high taxes meant that the Byzantine Empire was, like the Western Roman Empire, exceptionally rich, and it was slightly more compact as a territory than its predecessor and much more urban, containing, as it did, all of those once independent Greek city-states, which made it easier to administer. Also, like their Western counterparts, the Byzantines enjoyed spectacle and sport. Chariot races in Constantinople were huge, with thousands turning out at the Hippodrome to cheer on their favorites. Big bets were placed, and there was a huge rivalry, not just about sports, but also about political affiliations between the two main teams, the Blues and the Greens. Thanks for putting us on the Greens, Thought Bubble. That rivalry was so heated that riots often broke out between them, and in one such riot, an estimated 30,000 people were killed. Thanks, Thought Bubble. But perhaps the most consistently Roman aspect of Byzantine society was that they followed Roman law. The Romans always prided themselves on being ruled by laws, not by men, and even though that wasn't actually the case after the 2nd century BCE, there's no question that the Eastern Roman Empire's codification of Roman laws was one of its great achievements. And much of the credit for that goes to the most famous Byzantine emperor, at least after Constantine, Justinian. I like your brooch, sir. In 533, Justinian published the Digest, an 800,000-word condensation of 1,528 Latin law books. And to go along with this, he published the Institutes, which was like a curriculum for the Roman law schools that existed all through the empire. Justinian, incidentally, was by far the most awesome of the Byzantine emperors. He was like the David Tennant of doctors. He was born a peasant somewhere in the Balkans and then rose to become emperor in 527. He ruled for almost 30 years, and in addition to codifying Roman law, he did a lot to restore the former glory of the Roman Empire. He took Carthage back. He even took Rome back from the Goths, although not for long. And he's responsible for the building of one of the great churches of all time, which is now a mosque, the Hagia Sophia, or Church of Saint Wisdom. So after one of those sporting riots destroyed the previous church, he built this, which with its soaring domes became a symbol for the wealth and opulence of his empire. The Romans were remarkable builders and engineers, and the Hagia Sophia is no exception. A dome its equal wouldn't be built for another 500 years. But you'd never mistake it for a Roman temple. It doesn't have the austerity or the...
Hold up. What did our founding fathers think of... Did our founding fathers like any of the emperors in the Roman Empire? Their views on Roman emperors, the autocratic rulers after the Republic fell, were much more cautious or negative. Emperors such as Julius Caesar, technically not an emperor but dictator, Augustus Nero, and others were often seen as symbols of what happens when power is unchecked. They used to follow Roman Republic and the rise of emperors as cautionary tale. Yes. They liked the Roman Republic but disliked or feared the Roman emperors, seeing them as examples of tyranny. So they wouldn't like Justinian? Right, they probably wouldn't have liked Emperor Justinian much. Okay.
The emphasis on engineering that you see
Then
in,
why do
for
I give a
instance,
shit
the
about her?
Colosseum.
Him.
And this building in many ways functions as a symbol thing that hate each other. Theodora began her career as an actress, dancer, and possible prostitute before becoming emperor. During riots between her husband career as an actress, dancer. That is perfect. It's funny how married couples always look like each other. Theodora began her career as an actress, dancer, and possible prostitute before becoming empress. And she may have saved her husband's rule by convincing him not to flee the city during.
Like Theodore Roosevelt? One of the most powerful. She died in 548 AD.
Riots between the blues and the green. So in housing emperors really stern, or sometimes even call it Byzantine, Easter, and the main yes. In the West there was a pope, and in the agent on Earth in Western Europe between popes and kings over who should have the appointed by the emperor. So it was Caesar over Pope. But the fact that in Rome there was no emperor after 476 meant there was no one to challenge the Pope, which would profoundly shape the empire. Survives in our rivalries that have this for much. Well, I stand myself and our graphics team.
All right, gonna go now.